Welcome to Exploring Quality, the third year interprofessional module. My name is Matt Hughes, I'm the module leader, and I want you to think back to your second year interprofessional module where you looked at what interprofessional working is, why it's here, what are the benefits from it. What we ask in this module is that true really? What does it look like? What does interprofessional working or interagency working look like at the front line? And what are the benefits? Can you see the benefits? What do they look like? So we're trying to actually explore in a critical way the second year module. So we're trying to explore in a critical way the second year module at third year. And this is the important part, is it's practice based. We're looking at your practice, what you're doing in practice. And it's important to keep looking at that all the way through. You need to ask your mentors, supervisors, whatever qualified staff are out there, to think about what it means to them as well. We're asking for you to go and find out from them as much as you to find out from books, etc., and papers. It starts with this face-to-face morning. And what we ask you to do there is just to sit down with your team, and your team will be of approximately 7 students, to think what interprofessional working means to you. We'll then ask you to go through and be critical of that thought. This is level 3, we're moving up to critical thinking now. So we're asking you to evaluate things and look at them carefully, not just to say, oh yes, so-and-so says this or whatever. So, what does IP working mean to you? What's an IP event to you? But also that the second part of the morning will be about how you as a team work together. One of the issues with interprofessional working, as you might have explored in the second year, is the problems of working together. So we're asking you to look back at those, see how as you, as a team of students, an interprofessional team of students, how can you work together? And the more you can think about that at that meeting, the more you can work it out, the detail, the easier the rest of the module will be. The second activity is an online activity and involves you using the definitions that you've created in your first activity to look at your practice and to explore what an interprofessional event looks like in your practice. You then, once you've identified one, you then write it up for the rest of the group to have a look at, the rest of the team to have a look at. You also need to analyse the processes that are going on here. I stress we're not asking you to become process experts, it's just a different way of looking at things for some of you. Some of you might be well versed in it already, I don't know, so you might be able to help the others. But you're looking at this, what are the processes that are involved in this? What does it look like to the service user? These are the issues we're asking you to look at. And that's simply, you post that up on Blackboard, and that's it, activity 2 done. Activity 3 is also online. This is where your team make a decision on which 2 events to take through to the next activity. So, you need to be bearing the next activity in mind, but the important thing here is, what is your rationale? And what are your responses to others' rationale? So we want you to be thinking about why you're making a choice and what criteria you're using to make that choice on, and how that affects other people's criteria and how it or interacts with other people's criteria. So you need to be thinking along all the time about your rationale here. It's not about the events themselves, what happens in them. That's in the next activity. At the moment, all we're looking for is why you want this one rather than that one. And if somebody else disagrees with you, does that change your point of view and why? Or do you still want your keep your decision and why in the light of what they've said. So it's a debate, and that's the really important part, it's a debate. Activity 4 is a discussion about quality issues in the 2 events you've chosen. Before you can start discussing quality, you need to have some form of definition of quality and what are the criteria by which you measure it. So you need to be thinking about those first of all. And that part is quite important in terms of your interprofessional learning, because depending on the professions represented in your team, you might have quite a different set of interpretations of quality. Once you've got to that point, you can then start to think, well, were these events in an interprofessional context, were they of good quality? Could they have been improved? Or if they are very high quality, how can you maintain that quality? How can you make sure that quality is maintained in similar events? So, summing up on this part so far, you've looked at what interprofessional working is, you've looked at ways of your team working together, you've come up with some events according to your definition, you've then chosen 2 events to take forward to look at in quality. Activity 5 then is more concerned with the team and your part in it. It's roughly 3 sections. The first part is, how well did the team do? Well, again, we're asking, that's similar to quality, what do you mean by well? What are you looking for in a team in that sense? You only need to pick 1, 2, maybe 3 issues in this. It's not a massive inquiry. It's just to find out how you think the team did. Then, the second part of it is, what was your part in that? How well did you do in the team? Were you a team player? Were you not a team player? What issues affected that? The third part is a small action plan, maybe 2 or 3 issues that you could use if you were asked this question at interview. We want you to use the SMART approach, that is, we want you to be specific. Saying I'd like to know more about other professions is vague, to say the least. If you're on Erasmus or elective placement, you may not be able to make one of the face-to-face sessions. Don't worry, just let your team know. At the face-to-face sessions, we will ask the teams to consider this and work out how they can include you in the process.